Okay, number 2, if you watch my last vid, which I keep referencing, I'm sorry, but you should go watch it. If you watch my last one, you know that number 2 on that list was also the aggressive one, and that's the same for this one. This is fursuit makers who are difficult. So I know you've all heard the saying, the customer is always right? Where you can't argue with the customer because whatever they say goes. Well, this is the same thing except flipped, where the fursuit maker is always right and you can't argue with them. So this is basically exactly what I said. When a fursuit maker is, being difficult with you, when you as a customer are commissioning or getting refurbs done or whatever, and no matter what you say, the fursuit maker gives you basically an attitude, and they're just like, well, I'm not doing that, or that's not right, or that's not how I do things, or I'm just like, that couldn't be right. This is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's when a fursuit maker just doesn't want to work with you. Whenever you as a customer say, you want something done, and the fursuit maker basically kind of just refuses. Now I know you're thinking, why do fursuit makers do that? Why are they being, difficult like that? Well, I'm going to address that in 2 parts. There's 2 times basically when the fursuit maker is being difficult, and that is during the creation process and during the, refurb process, like fixing up the fursuit if you need it. Not every fursuit needs a refurb, but those are the 2 times where a fursuit maker will generally be difficult. So I'll break them down by times. So with the creation process, generally speaking, you'll see a fursuit maker, if you as a customer want something done, you'll be like, hey, can the nose be shaped this way, or can the ears be done this way? And a fursuit maker will come back and they'll be like, I'm not doing that, or that won't look good, or that's not how I do things. Basically, they'll just, tell you they don't want to do it. So why do they do that? Well, in this instance, they do it because they think they know better. They think that they're right and you're wrong, and you don't know what you're talking about, and they're the fursuit maker and they obviously know what's best. Well, fursuit makers, as a fellow maker, I will say that I too am, prone to that attitude, but I'm telling you right now, that's not always the case. Now, I'm not saying that you don't know what's best because, you don't know the technical skill what's best. I'm saying that you don't know what your customer wants best. So, yes, maybe you might know technically that the nose shaping like that won't look good or whatever, but your customer wants it to look that way. So in that sense, you don't know what is best for the customer in terms of what they want. So that's why a fursuit maker will generally argue with you at this point, because they think they know it's better from a technical standpoint. So that's generally why they're going to argue with you, during the process. Now, when you are getting your fursuit refurbed, you will come across a fursuit maker being, difficult in the sense that you'll be like, this is wrong with my fursuit, I need this fixed, whatever you have to say. And this is when a fursuit maker will be like, that can't be right, I didn't do that, or that didn't happen, I'm not fixing that, or I don't make those fixes, or something like that. Now, why does the suit maker do that? Well, this indignation comes from pride, basically. They just, don't want to hear that they did anything wrong. I know, trust me, as a suit maker, I know it sucks hearing you messed up, hearing you forgot to do something, or something's wrong with the suit. It does suck. It is a blow to your pride. You spent a lot of time on that, and you don't want to hear that it's, not great. And so for that reason, generally, when you are getting some things done, a fursuit maker will be pretty indignant about it. They'll try and be like, I didn't make that mistake, or I'm not fixing that, or I don't make those fixes. I've had friends who've gotten fursuits from makers before where they just straight up forgot to do something on the suit, and when they messaged them back, they were pretty, it's like, not great to work with in terms of getting those things fixed. So it is definitely something that even professional makers still do. Makers, don't be difficult. You don't like it when customers are difficult with you. You don't like it when they're yelling at you, accusing you of all things. So why are you being difficult with them? I can guarantee you, if you're standoffish with them, they're going to do the same thing. Because here's the thing, they want what they want, whether that is to get something on the fursuit to look a certain way or to get the suit fixed. And because that, if you're going to be difficult, they're going to be difficult right back because they are trying to get you to do something. And so it's not going to work for either parties. What's probably going to happen, much like the other time when the customer is being aggressive, is you'll just get into a fight with each other, nothing will get solved, and it never works out. Why are you being difficult? Just do it. Like, I don't understand. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Just do what the customer wants, as long as it's not, gonna damage the structure of the fursuit or be like completely changing of your fursuit style. There's no reason you should be difficult with a customer through the process. And if you're doing refurbs and the customer is telling you what's wrong, just suck up your pride, man. I mean, like, we all make mistakes, and if the customer is telling you something wrong, I guarantee you they're not doing it because they want to slam you. They don't want a damaged fursuit. They paid a lot of money for it. They want it to be working. They're not messaging you because they want to damage your reputation. They just want their product fixed. So just suck up your pride, accept you made a mistake. Like I said, we all do. This entire video is about mistakes. And just make the fix. Charge them your fee if you have it, but whatever, just do it. Just don't make things difficult. So customers, what can you do if you have a fursuit maker who is being difficult? Well, first off, I really hope you don't have to deal with makers like this, because here's the thing, the difference between a customer getting angry at a maker and a maker who's being difficult with a customer is when you're just an angry customer, it's like, yeah, you can yell at them, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, the maker is the one in the power here. They're the one either with the fursuit being made or with the fursuit that is being fixed. So all you can do is yell at them and get your point across. What they can do is keep your product hostage, keep your money hostage. So it kind of sucks that unfortunately in the situation where if they are being difficult, they do have more power than you as a customer, just because they have, the item, the point of interest here. They're in control of it, not you. So sucks, and I really hope you don't have to deal with a maker who is like this. But if you do, in terms of the process, a maker who's being difficult during the process, just be calm. Again, both of these are going to be similar. Just be as calm as you can. Try and work with them. Sometimes you can, talk these makers down. You can be reasonable with them. Sometimes they're only being snippy because you are. So if you're calm, they'll, be calm too. And if you're working through them with the process and they tell you they don't want to do something, try compromising. Being like, if you want the ears to look a certain way and they say they can't do that, be like, well, could maybe then you make them like this, which is like halfway through what they do and halfway through you want, and sometimes that works. Just be like, okay, how about this? Just try and work with them to the best of your ability. But if you do feel like they are being too difficult with you and they're, not listening to anything you say, you can once again cancel the commission, and you can be like, hey, this isn't working. I don't think we work good together, and just be like, I don't think I can finish the commission, stuff like that. So it's really up to you. Either you can try working with them, which sometimes it works, and hey, I mean, if the product is good enough, some people are willing to put up with difficult fursuit makers and even artists to get a good product. I know so many artists and makers out there who are just not great people to work with, but they have awesome products. And so some people have, the tolerance of angels, and they just work with that difficult artist because they want the product. And to some people, it's worth it. To some people, it's not. So it's really up to you. Make your choice, work with them, or, cut it off if it's too much for you. And what can you do if the maker is being difficult on the fixing side? Well, first of all, make sure you know exactly what is being done before you send out your fursuit. Because here's the thing, when your fursuit's broken, you have it. So you want to get it fixed. Talk to the maker. You can generally tell pretty early on through like email or text or whatever if this maker is being difficult in terms of getting something fixed. They'll already be indignant. They'll be like, they're not going to hide it and then be indignant later generally. They'll be like, well, I didn't make that mistake, or I don't know, maybe I can fix it. So you can always generally tell. So if they are being like difficult early on, don't give your fursuit away. Do not do that, because the minute you do, you've just surrendered custody, and now your baby is with somebody who's not, being great to you. So always make sure before you send off your fursuit to get fixed to your maker that they are willing to do it, that you've agreed on everything, that everything is settled, and it's going to be fixed, and they're going to be nice with you. But honestly, I'll tell you this right now. I would try and find a maker who didn't make your fursuit to get it fixed. Because a lot of the reasons, like I said, the main reason fursuit makers are, angry about this is because it's pride. They are being insulted, they feel. And so go to a maker who doesn't have so much personal investment in your fursuit. Yes, it can be hard at times to find those people, but not always. There's definitely people out there who will, fix makers' work that, it's not their work, and they have no problem. Generally, you'll be like, hey, this is wrong with my fursuit, and they'll be like, totally fine, I can fix it, give it to me. They have no personal investment. They didn't make the fursuit. They're just doing the job of getting it fixed so they can get your money. So I would highly recommend possibly looking into other people who can fix it, if not yourself or a friend, because the people who have less personal, attachment to the work will be more willing to actually do what needs to get done to make it better. And again, there's makers of all different levels who can do that. Just because your maker made the suit, you might find an even better maker who does fixes and can fix it up even better than before. So don't be above looking for somebody else to fix your suit if you see that the maker is being difficult with you. I would suggest going to your maker first because they generally want the chance to fix their mistakes. But if they are being difficult, shop somewhere else. Okay, number 1, we made it to the bottom of the list. This is the worst of the worst. This is the root of all evil. This is the one that stems the other 2, in my opinion. And this is the one that no matter who I see does it, no matter the age, no matter the discipline, no matter if they're a fursuit maker or an artist, I always say to myself, why? Why did you do that? That never works. It'll never produce anything good. Why did you do that? Without fail, I think that every time. And that is fursuit makers or artists, because they do it too, who ignore their customers. Oh my goodness. There are so many horror stories about this one. This is the killer of so many artist-customer relationships. Hoo boy. Okay, let's kick a scenario, because I gotta be specific about this one before you all think that somebody hasn't messaged you in a week and they're, ignoring you. So you are ready to commission a fursuit. You find your maker of choice. You message them. You get your slot. They're very nice to you. Everything goes as planned. You send your down payment or your money or whatever. Let's assume in this case that you sent most of the total payment, if not all. So you send your payment. They tell you thank you, they respond to you really fast, and they tell you, okay, I'm going to be starting on your fursuit this time. And you say, okay, great, awesome. And so, you're in waiting. And then your fursuit starting date comes up and you don't hear anything from them. And you think, you're like, all right, might have been pushed back. So like I said, you wait a week, 2 weeks, and you still hear nothing. So you message them again. This is all mainly through one messaging system, generally email. And you email them again and you say, hey, looking forward to my suit starting. Haven't heard anything from you in a while, and I know my starting date already passed. So I just was wondering if I could get an update. Thanks. So you send that email and you hear nothing. And you wait maybe a month and you still hear nothing. So you email them again and you say, hey, just looking for an update, haven't heard back from you in a while and just want to know what's going on. So you send that and once again, you hear nothing. So you wait maybe 2 months at this point and you message them again, you're like, hey, I haven't heard from you. It's been a couple months since we promised to start on my fursuit. I really would like an update. Want to know what's going on. Thanks. And you hear nothing from them. So you wait another month. Now at this point, you're like, something's going on. If not, you knew beforehand. And so you message them again, another email, and you say, hey, I would really like to know what's going on. It's been months. I haven't heard anything from you. I would just like to know that you're still working on my commission or whatever. And you send that and you hear nothing. Now at this point, you start to search them out on their other forms of contact, which if you haven't already, but you never really messaged them at that point. You kind of just like, saw what they were doing, and they have been, active on their other media. Well, at this point you go searching them out and you notice you're blocked on a lot of things. You cannot message them on like their Twitter or their Instagram or whatever. And so you are like confined to one form of contact now. And whatever that is, be it still email or just like, one of their social medias where maybe they forgot to get you, you message them and you be like, hey man, what's up? I haven't heard from you in months. I really want to know what's going on. I need some kind of update. If you have reached this point, this is a maker who is ignoring you. Do you get the picture? This is not when somebody is not messaging you after even like a couple weeks or maybe even a month. This is when somebody is continuously not answering your emails, not answering your messages, and actually is still generally active on their other media. And the big kicker of this is when you are blocked on a lot of things without any kind of like, problems beforehand. You're just straight up, you can't contact them. So please know that difference, because I don't want any innocent people who are either just bad at communication or just haven't messaged you because they don't have anything to show, even though they are still working, to get taken down for this, because it's very specific. This is when a maker or an artist is just ignoring you flat out for months on end with no updates. They will not message you anywhere else. They haven't reached out from you. You basically haven't heard anything from them since maybe the initial contact, if not maybe like a week later. And now you can't contact them anywhere. They are making sure you cannot reach out to them. You cannot message them. You cannot find out what's going on. That is the key in this. This is a malicious act. This is something where somebody is not your friend and they don't want to be your friend and they are trying to push you away. Now, why do makers do this? Why do artists do this? Like I said, this is not a good act, and so there is no good reason that any artist will do this. So if this is happening to you, just know right now, they're not doing this because things are okay and they're just bad. There is no reason to ignore anyone unless something is wrong. Bottom line, something is wrong. Now, why do makers do this? Well, a few reasons. First of all, the main reason being is they haven't started on your work at all, and they don't want to tell you. And they, again, many reasons why they didn't start. Maybe they either like got caught up in something else. Maybe they just didn't want to start for some reason. Maybe they couldn't. It's just, there's a multitude of reasons, but basically they just haven't done any work. And they don't want to tell you because, you're expecting work and they don't have anything to show, so they don't want you to get mad at them. Another reason, and this is the more slimy one, is they never were planning to do the work for you to begin with. They wanted your money. They needed your money for something. This can happen all the time where people just take on commissions. And then you never see anything because they never were going to do anything. They just needed your money to solve some immediate problem they had, and then they were going to, disappear into the night and basically, quite literally, steal from you. They were going to steal your money, and unfortunately, you fell for it. It sucks, but it happens. So those are just a few reasons why an artist might be ignoring you. Again, there's other reasons, but just those are two of the big ones. But yeah, so just again, I don't know why a good artist, because here, I'm going to say this right now. This is not always done by bad people. This is not always done by people who mean to scam you or people who mean to not. This can sometimes be done by generally good-meaning people who life just got away from them, and now again they're ignoring you because they have nothing to show and they don't want you to get mad at them. But yeah, that's why I'm like, why does anybody do this? Because it never, ever, 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 ever turns out good, ever. There is no positive outcome to this method of communicating with somebody, because at the best case scenario, best thing that can come out of this is that you are ignoring a customer and then you regain yourself and you message them back and you be like, hey, I'm so sorry, I had a rough patch in life, I couldn't message you, I hadn't gotten any work done, but I'm going to, message you, I'm going to start working again and whatever. And if you do have a forgiving client, they'll be like, all right, thank you for the update, I'll keep messaging you to see where they are. But I'll tell you this right now, that customer still knows that even if you've reestablished contact, if you're trying to make right, you ignored them for a long period of time after they tried getting a hold of you so many times. So even if everything works out fine in the end, they still know that. They still know what you did. And so if somebody else messages them, be like, hey, I'm thinking of working with them, how did that go? They will tell them. They'll be like, they were fine, but they do not talk to you, and so I wouldn't recommend working with them because they have a history of ignoring you. So that is the best case scenario. That's the best thing that can happen. You can get just like a warning of yourself out there. But the worst case scenario is, oh my God, your entire business will be destroyed because nobody wants to work with anyone who's gonna ignore them, and that's across anything. That has nothing to do with even art, that like anything. Nobody wants to work with anyone who's not going to work with them. And so if you ignore, it only takes, and here's the thing, it only takes like 2 or 3 people of doing this behavior to get yourself blacklisted on everything. Here's the thing, guys. Regardless of what you see online, the furry community is not that big. And word travels super fast in the community. So if you have a history of doing this even to 2 or 3 people, I can guarantee you within a couple days, everybody's gonna know your name and what you do, and they're gonna know not to work with you, ever. So there's no good thing that comes out of ignoring people. I genuinely don't understand why people do this. Unless they're malicious to begin with. Like I said, they're not always bad people who do this. It's just sometimes good-natured people who genuinely meant well, who get caught up in things. But I'm talking to you guys. While it might seem like a good idea at the time, while you don't want to get yelled at by your customer, while you don't want to face the music, it is always better to be truthful and to come forward and say, I couldn't do this, this is what happened. And just be honest with them. It will always be better in the long run if you tell them what's going on, and then you two can work on it. If something happened, you can come to an agreement and you can fix the problem. But if you're just going to ignore them and you feel even worse about yourself, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, just don't do that. Just please don't do that. I am proud to say that in my 7 years of making fursuits professionally, I have never ignored a customer. I have had to deal with a lot of crappy situations with customers where they were not nice, or they wanted things done that I wasn't comfortable with, or whatever. But just, it sucks. I know it does. I know it sucks dealing with things that you don't want to, but ignoring them is never the solution, and I can't say that enough. So with that, I'm going to end this little section here. Before I just go on a tirade, you've got my point. Don't ignore. It can only just do damage. So customers, I know that was long, but what can you do if you have a fursuit maker or an artist who is ignoring you? Well, much like number 3, and I will say this beforehand, you still should be polite and, like cordial, but I would not say be nice. Like, you don't have to be mean, but you have to be firm. You have to be assertive. And so that to be said, keep on them. Message them. Do not let them get away into the night with your money, because they're essentially stealing from you. Do not let them steal from you. So message them. Keep on them. Be firm. Be assertive. Like, just get in their business. Message them on anything you can. Do not let them get away with this. I know I just said it, but I'm saying it again. And here's the thing. If you cannot form any kind of, connection with them, if they're just ignoring you and they don't want to talk to you and they're just blocking you and everything, try and find a third party maybe somebody who knows them and knows you, who can get some kind of communication established, however they do that. But be like, hey, you know this person, can you talk to them for me? Can you get them to talk to me? Something like that. Doesn't always work, but it can sometimes. So don't think that's not gonna work. But yeah, basically you just have to, form any kind of connection with them that you can to get the conversation going. Because once the conversation's going, you have a much better chance of coming to a resolution. But you just have to make sure you can do that. Don't just be like, I can't get in contact with them, they're whatever. I mean, if you don't want to put up with it and they really didn't take a ton of money, you can just roll over and just bitterly never commission them again and ward off anybody from them. But if they did steal a lot of money from you, make sure you get that money back. If they took a ton of money, you might be able to form some kind of small legal action against them. I don't know. It's all very situational. But again, my biggest thing to you is make sure you get them to talk to you. Like, do whatever you can to form some kind of, conversation between you two. Because if it's a decent person who just feels bad, generally, if you keep on them, they'll message you and they'll be like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for any of this to happen, whatever. But if they're not a good person, they will continue to block you and all that stuff. So at that point, personally, I know people are like, oh, call out culture is bad. Well, I wouldn't say call them out per se. I would say just make a warning on them. Make an artist beware. You're not trying to call them out because they have a problematic opinion or something. You're calling them out because they literally stole money from you. There is nothing wrong with making everybody know a thief is in your midst and you want people to avoid them. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion. I mean, I like to think that if, somebody steals from you, you have the right to make sure everybody else knows that somebody out there is, taking people's money. I mean, it's just common sense, I'd like to think. But yeah, so I really hope you as a customer never have to deal with this kind of person. It really breaks my heart when I see people who have dealt with these people so often that they don't want to commission anything anymore. It really does, because, I mean, honestly, it sounds cliche, but obviously not all fursuit makers and not all artists are like that. There are genuinely good fursuit makers and artists who want to create something for you, who want to share their work with you, and they're just as mad as you are about these people who go around doing this, because like I said, they give us a bad name. They make people think that they should never commission art, never commission fursuits, because they've had so many bad experiences with these bad eggs. But I guess what I would say to that is, don't give up on fursuit makers or artists if you've had these bad experiences, because there are good ones out there, and there's more than you think. If you have a lot of bad, experiences with these people, there are a lot of good artists out there, and I encourage you to give them a chance. Now, if you've been burned so many times you don't have any money left, that's maybe one thing, but don't give up. Just do a little more research into these people and make sure you're commissioning somebody who you know is trustworthy. I'll say this right now to their names. The big fursuit makers out there, they have big names for a reason. You know why? Because a lot of people buy from them, and when a lot of people buy from somebody, you know that they are a good person to work with. I don't want to bash people who charge lower prices for things, but more often than not, this does happen with makers who don't charge a ton of money because they aren't really professional yet. They haven't worked with a lot of people. So I would say that if you are truly scared of dealing with somebody like this who might steal your money and might make away with it, save up the money and commission a big name maker, because I can guarantee you they are trustworthy and you will get your product because of how much money you're putting into it. So don't turn yourself off to little name makers, because they're not all bad, but some of them are, and I can tell you that most bigger name makers are not those, skeevy people. So yeah, that's it. I know this one was super, super long, but do not ignore your customers. And customers, make sure you get your money back, don't deal with thieves, and don't give up hope. So I'm almost certain that clip was like 20 minutes long, which sucks it's really gonna suck for editing, and my camera's now dying and I'm dying in this fursuit, so I'm gonna make this really short. Thank you. I hope you learned something. That's the end of this video. Again, I'm just sharing my personal knowledge as I've dealt with a lot of these problems personally, and I just wanted to give you my best advice on how to deal with them. My next video will be the next one in the series for starting your own fursuit business, and that will be on how to improve your product, improve your fursuit, how to make things that will, you know, make your fursuit stand out and make it sell better. Although before that, I might do another, you know, tips and techniques video. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what I have time for or what I think of. So, until next time. Oh, and also, I saw a lot of your comments on my last vid, how my first tip was about, you know, having complex characters, and then you're like, well, look at your suit. I've been making fursuits for 7 years, so I can make as many complex characters or colors as I want, so, ain't even mad. Bye!